My name is Dave Rakel. I'm the privileged chair of the department here of Family Medicine and Community Health. It's so great to have you all here with us so we can honor the next generation of physicians who are going to take us to a place we need to go. Before I always want to honor the people who do such good work in bringing this all together. These events are quite a bit to organize. I just want to honor Sue McGuire back there doing the name tags, and Stacy Lansing, and Judith Castro Rowmaker. Thank you for helping me thank them. All right. We're going to do our land acknowledgement a little bit different this year. Instead of just reading something that was pre-printed, I really wanted to honor the First Nations in a different way. Because this isn't in the past. This lives on, this wisdom. And this was a print that was made in honor of our guest speaker tonight, Dr. Thompson. You'll get a copy of this, that really honors the wisdom of Native American health and meaning in health and medicine, and combines it to this day. And there's a tremendous need for us to take this wisdom and apply it into our communities. Because Native American medicine talks about the interconnectedness of all things, that there is no separation between us, the land, and the spirit. And we need that more than ever now in the practice of medicine, because medicine has gotten somewhat fragmented. And this is really feeding, this wisdom is really feeding what we do today in our department's goal for creating a focus on salutogenic science. Salute, health, genesis, the creation of, or the origins of. We have a really good health system to do pathogenesis, pathos to suffer, the origins of disease, but we need to bring a better balance to salutogenesis of how complex systems heal. And I think Native American medicine does this beautifully. And we have a lot to learn from that wisdom from the first people who inhabited this land. So I think we would all agree that living things within ecosystems need a lot of different things to be healthy. That it's not just managing the dysfunction of the branch or the tree, it's recognizing the forest so we can better take care of the tree. And that's an idea that our department has been working on somewhat as a counterculture for many years. And we're proud to be leaders in this. And I want to give thanks to the Pastor Foundation. We have Zorba and Penny Pastor here who have done, please stand up. Our Zorba and Penny, please stay seated. Thank you. The pastors have been grateful in their Compassion in Action Awards that we're recognizing tonight, but they've also invested in a Salutogenic Science Award. So we can recognize leaders in medicine and also in our communities that really help us understand how to facilitate health within complex systems. So we're excited to put that gift to good use and add it to this generous group of donors that allowed us to support the future generations of healthcare. So thank you very much, Zorba and Penny. Please, yes, thank you. Another thing we can learn from our Native American colleagues is the importance of diversity. And this is an important part of our department, is creating a sense of belonging. And this slide came from the Othering and Belonging Institute. And I just love this graphic that the Nina Collective, one of the consultants who help us do DEI and health equity better, they showed this to us in one of our discussions. And I love it because a picture paints 1,000 words. On the left is one pattern, and there's people outside that pattern. That's exclusion. And then sometimes we invite those people into the pattern, but sometimes we want them to be like us. And that's inclusion, but it's not belonging. When we do belonging well, we invite everybody in, and we see them for who they want to be seen, not to be more like us, but to be who they are. And that's a beautiful example of creating this diversity that creates a new pattern. And we want to create new patterns, a beautiful flower that everybody feels that they belong part of, and then that flower does good work. And I think that's part of honoring our Native American heritage, our First Peoples, because that's diversity. If you look at any ecosystem, a healthy ecosystem needs to have different plants and soils and waters and fish and birds. If we look at our microbiome, it needs to be diverse for us to be healthy. And so does a sense of belonging. We need to honor different ideas and different thoughts so we can create beautiful new patterns. So thank you for the future leaders who are going to help us do this. I love this quote. This was a quote by Clarissa Pinkola Estes. She wrote a book called Women Who Run with Wolves. And we've got some good work to do. We've got important work to do. We have a $4.3 trillion healthcare system that doesn't produce health. That's twice as expensive than any other country in the world, and we rank number 34 in our health outcomes. I know we have a lot of pride in America, but we probably shouldn't have a lot of pride for our healthcare delivery system. We can do better. We all have to do better. That's what this department's all about. So we need to get on this ship and go in the same direction. and this is, I love her quote. She says, when a great ship is in harbor and moored, it is safe, there can be no doubt. But that is not what great ships are built for. We are a great ship, and you are on that ship, and we need you to direct it. This is the future of our healthcare delivery that really produces health for our communities. And how do we do that well? We just completed our 4 strategic priorities, and I just wanted to mention these. So that to which we give attention grows, and we're going to give these our attention over the next 5 years. Define relationally driven primary care teams that achieve joy and ease of clinical practice while addressing priority needs of communities. It's a long goal, but it's all important and interconnected. This one's important for tonight. Increase the number and diversity of learners engaged with family medicine. Thank you. Increase the number and quality of innovations in value-based, equity-driven healthcare. And lastly, assure that the department is a place where everyone feels engaged and connected with a sense of belonging. Thank you for helping us be on this ship and sail it to a good place together. This is our tagline, transforming healthcare for all. And it is a big job, but we're going to make a dent. We're going to get in this boat and do the best we can to improve health for our communities. I want to acknowledge some of the generous gifts that have brought us here together tonight. We've already recognized the Compassion Action and the Pseudogenic Awards. I wanted to just remember Lester Broman. Lester Broman was a family physician down in Beloit, and he loved his practice so much he wanted to provide an award to empower medical students to take up the specialty that gave him so much satisfaction. The Founders Award from the Wisconsin Academy of Family Physicians is given to a 4th-year medical student who's going to make a difference. Brandon Wimmer is here to present that. Thanks for being here, Brandon. The Robert and Irma Corbetts Endowed Scholarship. Bob Corbetts was a family physician. There was a lot of wonderful family physicians at the Monona Grove Clinic, and he was one of them, a lot of pioneers. And he and Irma was a librarian who then went and got her nurse's degree, and they gave money to support the Robert K. and Irma F. Corbett's endowed scholarship. And if you think about it, libraries are a great place to create a center for health empowerment. Librarians can be a wonderful health coach. We actually had one of our researchers write a grant in New Mexico for having librarians being a salutogenic center where people come to feel empowered and learn from a librarian to direct them towards information that will make them healthier. That's thinking outside the box. And Irma Corbett was a librarian and then a nurse. We're thankful to them. Adam and Anastasia Corbett, are you here tonight? There you are. Thank you so much for being here. Joyce Jurdo. Joyce was a beloved, wonderful, beloved person who supported our medical students in family medicine. And she had a quote that I love that just kind of resonates with the essence of who Joyce was. She said, "Do not tell me it cannot be done. Instead, ask me if there's a way we can do this." And that was Joyce Jurdo. And David, and I'm sorry, I don't have your first name. Please tell me your name. Stacy Jurdo are here. Thank you for being here and honoring Joyce with us tonight. The Vogel Foundation. This foundation recognizes one or more fourth-year medical students planning to pursue a career in family medicine with an emphasis on providing care for underserved populations. Isn't it cool? I can take so much time going down this list of thanks. The Jan Ash Memorial Award for Excellence in Community Radiography. And that honors Jan Ash, who was a X-ray tech at our Northeast Clinic. And we're going to recognize that award tonight. And then the namesake for the award tonight is the McGovern-Tracy Scholars. And Isabel McGovern-Kerr wanted to recognize her pioneering family in Wisconsin. There was a number of physicians who served rural and urban Wisconsin in her family. Her uncle was one of the governors of Wisconsin, and she wanted to endow a scholarship program in honor of the generations of the McGovern family who pioneered healthcare in Wisconsin. And then Michelle Tracy. Michelle Tracy was a gifted, passionate medical student who was tragically killed while she was serving in Africa during a trip there. And she was passionate about giving healthcare services to the underserved. She's had a number of gifts in her honor, and I am really excited for the medical students here today to take Michelle Tracy's energy and pay it forward, because she was one of you, and she was a very special human being. We do have the Tracy family here: Brandon, Dara, Layla, Candy, and Dan. Did I miss anybody? Thank you for being here in honor of Michelle. All right. I'm going to introduce my partner in good work, Jennifer Edgu. She's our executive vice chair, who also heads up our DEI and health equity and innovations in our department. And she will introduce our keynote speaker tonight, Dr. Thompson. Jennifer. Sorry, really important. After Dr. Thompson gives his talk and we start the awards, the awardee needs to stand here with the person who's giving you the award for a picture. Okay? So right here, face that way. We want to make sure we capture this night well for you.
So thank you all. It's great to see everyone here this evening. It is an enormous honor and privilege to introduce you all to our keynote speaker, Dr. Bret Benally Thompson. Dr. Benally Thompson is an enrolled member of the White Earth Nation of Ojibwe in what is now northwestern Minnesota. He's an associate clinical professor at UW in the Division of Hematology, Medical Oncology, and Palliative Care. We're board certified in both family medicine and hospice and palliative medicine. He completed the Alaska Family Medicine residency and was Alaska's first hospice and palliative medicine fellow. Dr. Benally Thompson is the former national clinical lead for palliative care for Indian Health Service. After working as a hospitalist and palliative medicine specialist for his tribe on the Red Lake Reservation in northern Minnesota, he joined the University of Wisconsin in 2011. First as a DFMCH hospitalist, providing inpatient palliative care at both UW and Meriter hospitals. Importantly, as well for the DFMCH and for me personally, Dr. Benally Thompson served as a valued member of our department's Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee from 2017 to 2020. He has been involved with the Native American Center for Health Professions, NACHIP, at the School of Medicine and Public Health since its inception in 2011, where he now serves as the primary investigator for programmatic, strategic, and community grants that are now in excess of $3 million. This includes Indian Health Services Indians in Medicine Grant, a community impact grant from the Wisconsin Partnership Program with the Oneida Nation to promote food sovereignty. Before entering medical school at age 40, he had careers in law enforcement as a U.S. Army infantry officer and as an EMT in search and rescue in the mountains of Colorado. He is deeply involved in his tribe's traditional ceremonies, including as a dancer of powwows. Dr. Benally Thompson and his wife, Antoinelle, who is of the Navajo Nation, sit on the Council of Elders for the American Indian Science and Engineering Society, or ASIS, a national organization focused on substantially increasing the representation of indigenous peoples of North America and the Pacific Islands in the fields of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. He has received numerous awards for his work in Indian health and ASIS's highest honor, the Eli S. Parker Award. Recently, he was named as one of Wisconsin's 33 most influential Native Americans leaders for 2023. Please join me in warmly welcoming Dr. Bret Benally Thompson.
Well, good evening. I don't know if we ever get used to hearing people talk about us, but it's part of the job. Before I introduce myself, I just want to take a moment to say miigwech, or thank you to each of you in family medicine, my people really, and for doing the job that I knew somewhere in residency that I couldn't do. I just was not a clinic physician, but I was raised by a primary school teacher who finally left the third grade at age 84 a couple of years ago during the pandemic. And I liken you all to our teachers. The word doctor means teacher. But you are on the front lines doing so much with so little and transforming healthcare with people like Dave Rakel. So I just want to say very sincerely, thank you very much for what you do. And looking to our future is bright with these young people. So if you'll bear with me, I'll introduce myself properly. Mino dibikad. Bejugo kamiginang digu. Minuanita wachiweb digu. Bret Benally Thompson, indigenous jago nashimong. Indu de mikinak gawa babaganakag indun jaba. Middleton, Wisconsin, and da ao. So introduce myself in my language, which is Ojibwe. You got the short version of that introduction. I said, hello, good evening. My Ojibwe names are Bejugo Kamiganung, which means first layer of earth, and Neta Wachiweb, which means leader mountain feather. I'm called Bret Benally Thompson in English, and my clan is Snapping Turtle, and I'm from Gawababaganakug, a White Earth Nation. So I'll tell a quick story of my name that I was given, Bejugo Kamiganung, the first layer of earth. I always wondered why that old man named me Dirt. And it wasn't until I went to medical school and I was sitting around the drum with a friend of mine from Red Lake, and we were at the med school or at the university, and he asked me that question. He said, "You know why that old man named you that?" And Steve was a jokester, so I was expecting kind of a sarcastic answer or a funny answer, and he said that no. He said he named you that because he knew you were going to be a healer. He said some of our medicine people diagnose the patient or diagnose the person's problem by comparing them with that life-giving layer of earth that's in balance. If things are going to grow, they compare their composition with the first layer of earth. So I carry that name with great honor before that, but even more so afterwards. So I was familiar with the McGovern-Tracy Awards only in name, and that it honors the service of Michelle Tracy. But after Dr. Rakel asked me to speak, I read what I could find about Michelle Tracy, and others in the audience, including Craig, who I just met tonight, and I read about online as part of this trip, know the details of this story much more intimately than I do. But what I read was that on July 6, 1999, Michelle, the UW medical student, and 13 others in her group from UW were traveling to the airport in a small bus to fly home after being in Malawi for a month. And I further read that Michelle was killed when the bus was hit by a train, and the driver died en route to the hospital. Luckily, there were no more deaths. But our community service, the community of service that you all are a part of, is small. As a Native person, I can go anywhere in this what we call Turtle Island or this country, and meet people that I know, or people that know people that I know. We're almost like a big family, and I think that speaks to service as well. So the Malawi Children's Village is one of the places that group worked and helped. And my preceptor, Tom Nicewander, who's the tallest guy in this picture, he was one of my preceptors in residency. And Tom and his wife Ruth were in the Peace Corps in Malawi just a few years ago when they were a little younger. But Tom, who's now 81, and his wife Ruth, who's a nurse, became involved with Malawi Children's Village just a few years after it was started by Malawi people to take care of the orphans, the many, many orphans that were a result of the AIDS epidemic. And Tom and Ruth's example of service to the many communities throughout their lives has been one that I've tried to live up to. I never tire of listening to their stories of service, whether serving at home in Alaska or 10,000 miles away in Malawi. And Tom at 81 is still precepting at our residency in Anchorage. And still, this is him in Malawi just a few weeks ago. He went there to assess the damage and devastation from Cyclone Freddy that caused huge amount of devastation and damage and deaths, unfortunately, in Malawi. So I called Tom after I learned of this connection, and he shared that Michelle, and Craig did tonight as well, that Michelle and her group had helped construct one of the early Malawi Children's Village buildings. And there's a plaque that's in that building, and Craig tells me that there's a plaque also at the entrance to Malawi Children's Village. So, Michelle remains connected to all of us by this awards, scholarships, and this event, and across the community of service. So I just wanted to share with you some of this is a few of the coffins, and you can see that the water is still filling the area. Unfortunately, the president of Malawi just recently said that the death toll from Cyclone Freddy, not hurricane, Cyclone Freddy, is now more than 1,000. And the people of Malawi and Malawi Children's Village desperately need help. This woman on the left is a grandmother that's standing on top of what was her house before the cyclone. And many of the houses are built with mud bricks that don't stand up to cyclone force winds and rain coming sideways. So she's standing on what was her house where she cared for orphans, multiple orphans. And the lady on in the other picture is the same thing. You can see what cyclone force winds do to their homes. So a home can be built in Malawi for about $1,200. And if you'd like to help, please consider donating. You can find a link on their Facebook page or their website, if that's something you'd like to do. So, if we are blessed, we have many people who are examples of community service, and some of them are here in the room with you. And I'm privileged to be among you, the awardees and the rest of you that serve. So I've spent my life in service to others, like Jennifer said, including the U.S. Army, 10 years as a deputy sheriff in Texas, EMT, and the last 14 years as a physician. And though I've considered it, I've never done international aid work or volunteer work. And that's in part a conscious decision because I've not, there's so much of a need here at home in my communities, in our Native communities. So, but it's also why stories like the Malawi Children's Village resonate so deeply with me. It's a story of tribal people doing the best they can to help each other and their communities with some good people by their side. Something I continue to devote my life to, especially for the health of our Native communities and our Native people. And that's done throughout our communities across Indian country, or Turtle Island, which is what we call this North American continent. And the history of the original people of this land, of what we now call the United States, is not what most of us learn in school, certainly not what my daughters learned in school, and not what we taught them. So I'm going to start you all off with a short history lesson. You'll just have to bear with me. When Dave asked me to do this talk, his only guidance was to talk about whatever I was passionate about regarding community health, diversity and health equity as my perspective as a Native person, and that I had 15 to 20 minutes to do it. So somewhere in your career, you've given an Indian a mic, and it takes us 15 minutes to introduce ourselves, so I don't know where you... But I'll do my best. So Daniel Yancey, the director of NACHIP, and I just finished teaching a 10-week course on this subject that barely scratches the surface. But here goes. So fasten your seatbelts. And some of the faculty here have actually attended that course with us, so I really appreciate that. So there are 574 federally recognized tribes within the borders of the United States. And where's my timekeeper, just so I try to stay a little bit on time? All right. I like that. Thank you. So 574 federally recognized tribes in the United States. Those are federally recognized. Approximately half of these are in Alaska. And what the heck is federally recognized? But by U.S. law, these tribes are sovereign nations. And I wonder how many of you knew that there are sovereign nations within the borders of the United States, which itself is a sovereign nation. The fact that they are federally recognized doesn't make them members of their tribe or their culture in their eyes, but it does in the eyes of the United States government. Actually, I'll go back to that in case you guys are still absorbing those facts. So, in other words, if I want to be seen at an Indian Health Service facility, I have to be a member of a federally recognized tribe. And there's a lot of other services that we're able to access because of that. But there are many tribes that are not federally recognized for all kinds of reasons that the federal government did not do a very good job of throughout our history after contact with Europeans and the young nation of the United States. So if I'm not a member of a federally recognized tribe and I want to get healthcare at an IHS facility, I'm just out of luck, unless I have healthcare from and insurance from other places. And access to healthcare is extremely difficult in a lot of our communities. So if a tribe didn't make a treaty with the young U.S. government exchanging services or goods for their land, and unfortunately that was often done under duress or at gunpoint, they were unlikely to be federally recognized. Some tribes lost their federal recognition, such as the Menominee of Wisconsin, during what's known as the termination period. And this is just one federal policy that really made things even worse for Native people after we lost our land to the United States. And if you think about it, a people without a land base, just think if you were suddenly taken from your home and forced to march to, let's say, South Dakota, or from New York or from here to New York, and then just dropped off there and told to make a living off the land. Yeah, you might have a tough time. So, the termination period was just a long line of policies to solve the Indian problem and attempt to force us to assimilate and give up our cultural and social ways of life. And I'm not talking about ancient history. I'm talking about within my lifetime, and several of you in the room who are old enough to be alive in the 50s and 60s that went on during that time. So, as an attempt to decrease our social way of life and get rid of our cultural and social ways of life, decrease the federal responsibility to tribes by treaty, which is the supreme law of the land, and to take what land was left after those tribes were terminated. Over 100 tribes were terminated during that period, and very few of them regained their federal status. And the Menominee were one of the few who were successful, fortunately. So when you think of Native Americans or American Indians, what's the image that comes to mind? And I won't make you say it out loud, but just all of you are going to have different ideas about what that is. Some from the movies, some from books, some from old pictures. But I wanted just to challenge you or share with you, if you have images more like I do, of who Native Americans are today. And these are all tribal people behind me, all people that I know personally are good friends of mine. John Harrington is in the two corners. He was the first Native American in space. I got invited to his launch of the Space Shuttle Endeavour, but unfortunately I had med school finals. I had to do, like, oh man, didn't get to go to the launch, but the launch got postponed, so I wouldn't have been able to see it anyway. But he spent 19 hours and 55 minutes outside the space shuttle working on the International Space Station. Amanda Briegel, Dr. Amanda Briegel's in the bottom center. She's the only Native American gynecologic oncologist in the country so far. We're hoping that gets rectified soon. She is a graduate of UW in a OBGYN residency here. And then Arnie Vainio is in the other corner. He's the extraordinary Ojibwe family physician who mentored me. And the ladies in the top corner are all active duty service members in their jingle dresses who go around to help Native communities and vets. So, tribes are sovereign nations. we have our own distinct languages, cultures, traditions, histories. We speak different languages. My wife and I are basically, a bicultural family. We share some things, but there are as many differences as there are similarities. I would say that our values and the way we view life and healthcare, like Dave alluded to, are very similar, though. We can't separate our spirituality from the rest of our lives. I spend my family vacation every summer at our tribal ceremonies, which go for anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks. And I go back every year to help. I call it my other medical school. And my daughters, I raise my daughters there. But it just teaches me how to be a good human being. It doesn't separate out in any way like the religion I was raised in when I was growing up in a church. Not to say that those things aren't good and teach good values, but it's just the way we are. There's no separation between our health and our spirituality and our way of life. We're really pitiful beings if you think about it. Except for our big brains, we can't make it in the world without all the other beings in the world and the land that we live on. So probably because I'm talking way too much, I'm going to skip over this, but I invite you to Google this if you want to learn more about why treaties matter. So this is a very good 2-minute video that some good folks in Minnesota put out that talk about why treaties matter. So I'll talk more about what we do locally here in Wisconsin. So there are 12 Native nations in Wisconsin. 11 of them are federally recognized. About 145,000 people in Wisconsin, in the most recent census identified as American Indian Alaska Native. So about 2.5% of the population of Wisconsin identifies as American Indian or Alaska Native, either alone or in combination with other races. And I won't read all these off, but if you can see the one at the bottom, I'm violating one of my PowerPoint rules that there's no more than 6 bullets on a slide, but these are the names of all the tribes in Wisconsin. And on that map, the white areas are the land that they have left, kind of. So the Brotherton Indian Nation, who was originally from the East Coast and got marched here along with the Oneida and Stockbridge Munsee in the 1800s, are the only ones that are not federally recognized. They lost their federal recognition when they agreed to become U.S. citizens. We weren't U.S. citizens until 1924. And even after that, weren't allowed to vote for a long time. But when I say kind of, those areas in white are our land that we retain after the treaties, after giving up the land. Through different practices and policies, much of those reservations were taken from us. White Earth, the borders of our reservation border about 800,000 acres. We only retain 60,000 of those acres after a lot of federal policies and not so great practices by non-Indian people. So the future of our healthcare, NACHIP, founded in 2012 by this young man at the top picture, Dr. Eric Brote, who got me here. It was one of my mentees when I was a medical student, and Eric now runs the Northwest Native American Center of Excellence at Oregon Health Sciences University. But he started NACHIP here in 2012 with some help, with a lot of help from Dr. Alex Adams, for those of you that remember Alex, Rick Moss, and the NACHIP Advisory Board. So, I don't want to put up statistics, but Native Americans, along with some of the other people of color in the United States, have some of the largest health disparities within our borders. And we're already not good, number 34, right? So you can imagine the disparities that we face. We have the lowest life expectancy of anybody in the United States, any group in the United States. So we've got a long way to go. And one of the big issues is that we work on at NACHIP is workforce development. The Indian Health Service, which also translates to tribal clinics, has at any given time about 30-40% vacancy rate. So it's not just that we need our own people working for us in the clinics along with the non-native folks. There just aren't enough people working for tribes and the Indian Health Service. So we're trying to grow our own. And our vision and mission focuses on that and everything that we can do to make that happen. So sorry, we're going to skip over that one. So this is just another example of what we're up against. Some of those numbers are pretty small. So there's a pointer on here. So this is the per capita spending by the U.S. government for the Indian Health Service, about $4,000. Then the other federal programs, Medicaid and the VA, $8,000 and $10,000 respectively, and then Medicare, which if you think about it, Medicare doesn't spend a lot of money compared to some of the private insurance companies, but they spend $13,000 per capita on that federal program per person. So the difference between $13,000 and $4,000 is quite a spread. So working in Indian Health Service was extremely eye-opening. Nothing like the healthcare that we deliver here. So part of our success story at NACHIP are these numbers. So on the left graph is the number of Native American students that we've graduated or are currently in medical school here. There were 5 when we started NACHIP back in 2012. There's currently 33, and we've got several more coming in with this new class. These other programs, health professions programs at UW that we support have been more flat, but we definitely work on them, and some of them have gone up. These are the total number of all the students, Native American students in healthcare degree programs here at the University of Wisconsin. Back in 2012, there were 24. This last year, we had 58. So we're making headway. Part of the problem is we don't have enough young people out in our communities that are dreaming about being physicians, PAs, physical therapists, pharmacists, occupational therapists, genetic counselors. So the number of applicants to these health professions programs for Native Americans has stayed relatively flat for decades and even gone down in some years. So these folks that we recruit here, we're just taking them from somewhere else. I'm not actually increasing the numbers of our workforce, unfortunately. So we're starting to work more upstream and also a little bit beyond that to have our faculty and residents. When I came here back in 2011, I knew of 13 Native American faculty when I got here. Now I know 1. So if anybody else out there identifies a faculty or staff member who's Native, I would love to get to know them because we need help. Our team of 5 needs help. So, and you don't have to come work for NACHIP, but even if I can use you as an example, use that person as an example, it would be great. And it's a little lonely. So here of the 82 NACHIP alumni we've had over the last 10 years, here's the breakdown: 26 MD students, 8 PA. We do support vet med also. We've got a couple of fantastic vet students because somebody needs to take care of our friends. So I don't have any pharmacy students right now, so that's something else it's extremely important and we're pushing for. So we have some things that I would invite you all to be involved in. Our Distinguished Lecture Series, we have experts from across Indian country come in and talk to us several times a year. I've seen quite a few of you there, and we do it hybrid and virtually. We've got 12 clinic sites that our students and our residents can be involved in, and NACHIP will help you set that up or give you the experience you're looking for. And we have the elective that we've had for 3 years now. It's the first native-based or native-specific course at the med school in the history of the medical school. And we just finished our third year of it. And then we're also developing some other courses. And that's not just a MD-specific course, it's interdisciplinary. So any of our health profession graduate students can join that. This is just more details on it. And our faculty and staff are also invited to join. Jennifer joined us, was it last year? Yeah. So that's how we learn about each other, is we listen to each other. We have a podcast. Unfortunately, our staff member who put the podcast together through our last grant went on maternity leave, so we've only got a couple episodes out. It's on Spotify. It's called Medicine Talkers, and we've got another one coming out soon. So that's a resource for you. So I'll just say miigwech again, and thank you for all that you do. There are some NATESHIP resources here if you wanted to contact me or our team, and this can be available through the Department of Medicine. So miigwech, thank you. And Tom wanted me to remind you when I spoke with him on the phone that there are many ways to serve, but community service might be the highest form there. So we need you out improving the health of our communities as well as the individuals. So miigwech.
Sue McGuire, thank you, Sue. We're trying to put a little thought into the gifts, because I know you don't need another plaque. So Sue looked up an artist from Ojibwa, and this was that image I showed initially. So we wanted to give this in honor of your work for Native American health and for us.
My gosh, it's so beautiful.
Do you want a picture? All right, this is what you do when you get your awards.
I need to back up a little bit because their faces are.
Oh, in the light? You don't want to see our faces.
You know, this is a little more. It's just about there.
Are we off the stage? I don't know. Is he trying to get rid of us?
Perfect. You can lean that plaque forward just a little bit.
Lean the plaque forward.
Okay. Okay, good. Thank you.
That'll beautify your space. All right, you all took notes of how to do that. Don't get in this light. Pull back. Tom Hahn. Tom? Ah, there you are. Is going to present our next words.
I can do it if you want. I don't know if there's slides or not. Good evening. My name is Tom Hahn. I'm a family physician at the UW Verona Clinic and one of the residency program associate program directors. And I have the honor of introducing this year's recipients of the McGovern-Tracy Awards. We have 6 fantastic winners, 3 residents and 3 students. And thanks again to Dr. Benally Thompson for your excellent, inspiring talk. I think it's fitting to introduce these McGovern-Tracy scholars next and see what the future of family medicine holds. And as you will see, it is very bright. So as I call your name one by one, you can head up so people can focus on you rather than me. And I'll do my best to give a short snippet of some of the amazing work that each student or resident has done. And we are going to start with our residents. So we'll start with Dr. Yusuf Abdullah. And one more reminder that, as you'll hear, the McGovern-Tracy Awards really are recognizing students and residents who have shown community service and leadership and really are role models of how the medical profession can interact with communities in productive ways. So Dr. Abdullah has had a very unique and impactful opportunity to help a group of local Afghanistan refugees who have come to Wisconsin and settled in various parts of the state. And not only does he have the medical experience to give some guidance and consulting, but also a shared personal experience. And so he has worked with a group of refugees initially that was in Southwest Wisconsin and was able to serve as a consultant, both culturally, but also to provide resources and mentorship. And I also learned tonight that now there's a more recent group actually out near his clinic. And one of his goals is to continue to be able to mentor some of the youth who are interested in pursuing careers in medicine in the future. So luckily for us, he's sticking around with a job in Madison, and I think will continue to have an invaluable impact on this community that has come to our community. So thank you, Dr. Abdullah, and congratulations.
Okay, right there.
That's again. So our next McGovern-Tracy scholar is Dr. Estefan Beltran. You can make your way to the stage. And really, even before medical school, Dr. Beltran has focused a lot of his efforts and work on mentorship and helping to create pathways for success for others. And as I was reviewing his application and statements, it's clear that really a lot of his work is driven by the work that his mother did to do the same for her siblings and ultimately children. And so when Dr. Beltran was a medical student, he formed a mentorship and a science education group for youth in his community. And he entered residency with a passion for continuing to provide mentorship and a pathway to medicine, particularly for students who are underrepresented in medicine. And that is exactly what he did. He was instrumental in helping to build from the ground up our program called Enrich, which stands for Enhancing Representation to Improve Our Community's Health. And Enrich is a pathway mentorship program for students who are underrepresented in medicine at the local medical school in Madison, and hopefully will expand to younger students as well. But this was an incredible feat that Dr. Beltran, with a group of support people, including Dr. White, who is now a faculty and was a resident, were able to develop. And we've had our first successful year, and I've been fortunate to work with him. Luckily, he will also be sticking around as a fellow, so we'll continue to work on this, and truly, this will have a lasting legacy and impact for many, many years to come. So thank you, Dr. Beltran, and congratulations. And our next resident recipient is Dr. Melissa Ricker, and she can make her way to the stage. I've also had the privilege of working with her. Dr. Ricker was, well, not only has she done a lot of volunteering with geriatrics in the community and will luckily be doing a geriatrics fellowship here, but she was a UW medical student and really throughout her residency has done significant mentorship for medical students interested in family medicine and also for connecting alumni with each other and communicating with them in her role as the resident board member on the Wisconsin Medical Alumni Association. As a resident, she has done a lot of outreach and work with our local family medicine interest group. and has really gone above and beyond to just make herself available and be a resource for students. And likely with all of her efforts has recruited many students to family medicine. She served on multiple panels. She was instrumental in creating a mentorship program for any medical student who's interested in having a family medicine mentor, and has also done many teaching opportunities through the family medicine department and medical school to connect with medical students. Luckily for us, she'll be sticking around next year too. So thank you, Dr. Ricker, for all of your hard work, and congratulations. Okay, next we're going to move on to the 3 medical student award winners. We're going to start with Kali Berkeley, who is not able to make it tonight, but I did want to recognize her very important work. So Kali has done significant work with domestic violence in our community, and it started when she was paired with an expecting mother as part of a medical school program to follow the patient throughout the pregnancy and learn that this patient needed resources for domestic violence, and was able to connect the patient with DAYS, which is a local organization that provides resources for people experiencing domestic violence. And since this, Kali has partnered with DAYS and is currently exploring ways that the medical school can provide resources and partner even more with this important local organization. Additionally, Kali was an FMIG leader this past year and was instrumental in planning and helping to do a successful procedure fair that the family medicine department hosts each year. This had been in hibernation during the pandemic, so this was the first year again in person and was truly a success, and is instrumental in attracting and exposing students to family medicine. So congratulations to Kali. We can still recognize her even though she's not here today. And next up, I'll call up Samantha Bush, who's all ready to come up. So the theme with Samantha is really providing care to patients who are underserved and who often fall through the cracks in the healthcare system. Samantha started this work even before medical school. In her work with AmeriCorps, she worked with people experiencing homelessness and poverty. And really, this theme has continued serving others during medical school. She also has been an FMIG leader, and one of the biggest things that she helped to coordinate was the BLSO, which is Basic Life Support for Obstetrics program, which is a program that teaches physicians basic life support for obstetrics patients, particularly focusing on physicians in rural areas who often are the only ones available to serve these patients. She also did a summer research project looking at pediatric inpatient care throughout the state of Wisconsin and noticed particular gaps in rural areas. Additionally, she has volunteered with the Medic Free Clinics, which is through the UW Medical School, as well as through the Madison Street Medicine program to provide care to people who are underserved in our community. So all this excellent work, congratulations to Samantha. Okay, and our 6th recipient tonight is Ainsley Hartney, who is sitting in the front. So Ainsley has she's currently doing her medical school rotations, but during her phase 1 of medical school, did quite a bit of work in a very important area of medicine and community health, which is nutrition, particularly looking at nutrition security and food insecurity. She did a summer research project with Dr. Arndt and really worked with the Madison area food pantry gardens. She also happens to be an expert gardener, I read, so if anyone needs advice. But with this project, she was able to not only spend many hours gardening and collecting produce for the food pantries, but more importantly, she was able to connect with both survey, but also talk to many of the clients and community members who use these services to gather feedback and figure out how can our community better meet their specific needs and serve these people. So thank you, Ainsley, for your very important work in this area that truly is important for family medicine and community health. Congratulations.
Okay, Tom's taller than me. Good evening, everybody. I'm Serena Schrager, faculty at the Northeast Family Medical Center. And Bill Schwab usually presents this award, but he couldn't be with us tonight. 18 years ago, the Jan Ash Memorial Award was created as a tribute to the memory of Jan Ash, a dedicated professional radiology technician and beloved member of the Northeast Family Medical Center staff for nearly 25 years. She died in 2004. The intent of the donor, Jan's partner, Gary Morgan, was that this award come from the Department of Family Medicine and Community Health to highlight the importance and satisfaction that a career like Jan's in community radiography entails. Jan combined her professional excellence with a commitment to advocacy for women, incorporating her own life experience with breast cancer into promoting regular access to mammography and all of her interactions with patients and colleagues in hopes of increasing early detection. The Jan Ash Memorial Award is presented annually by the DFMCH to a student graduating from the University of Wisconsin Hospitals and Clinics School of Radiologic Technology, who displays the technical skills, ability to communicate with patients, and cooperative team spirit that was the essence of Jan's work and that characterizes the contributions of so many other staff at our clinics. Annual recipients of the Jan Ash Memorial Award are chosen for their caring, empathic approach to people, as well as their appreciation of the value of community radiography services. They are recognized each year by the DFMCH at this McGovern-Tracy Scholars event, and ultimately will receive the plaque, including a stipend, at their graduation ceremony of the UWHC School of Radiologic Technology. I'm delighted to announce that the recipient of the Jan Ash Memorial Award this year is Gabriela Espinoza. Gabriela Espinoza describes her motivation as wanting to, quote, give back to communities that don't have access to diagnostic imaging, along with being committed to developing technical excellence. She has expressed that a major priority for her is building a community that patients trust by supporting linguistic access and by advocating for inclusivity in other ways. A first-generation college student who worked as a certified nursing assistant for 4 years before entering the radiologic technology program, she is lauded by her faculty for putting her patients first and for being always interested in learning. Gabriela Espinoza clearly exemplifies the values that my friend Jan Ash epitomized in her career. This is truly the legacy of Jan Ash, and please join me in congratulating Gabriela Espinoza.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Mark Beamsley, and I'm faculty at the Verona Clinic, and I'm the Director of Medical Student Education at our department. In this role, I have the great pleasure of working with a whole spectrum of people. I work with medical students closely, our family medicine interest group, our wonderful faculty, and leadership at the medical school. And so I have lots and lots of opportunities to immerse myself with medical student education. And in that role tonight, I'll be announcing several awards. For the first award, if Colin Shu can step up to the podium, or not the podium, the stage. So Colin's the recipient of the Compassion in Action Award, which is awarded to a first-year medical student who has a desire to provide good work in underserved communities. Colin was inspired during his first global health trip to Nepal several years ago, where the country, its culture, and people motivated his desire to pursue a career in medicine serving disadvantaged populations. He's volunteered in Guatemala, Peru, and Ethiopia, and he will be working in northern India on the Zero TBN Kids project, where his goals are to contribute to the project, develop a deeper understanding of the history and culture of Tibet and India, and further refine his abilities as a learner and increase his knowledge of tuberculosis pathology. Please join me in congratulating Colin. For our next award, if Samantha Gervais-Leclerc can step up to the stage. Samantha is the recipient of the second annual Joyce Trudeau Family Medicine Memorial Scholarship. This scholarship is awarded to a fourth-year medical student who has a demonstrated record of leadership and excellence. As we heard a little bit earlier this evening, Joyce was the student coordinator for the Family Medicine Interest Group for many years here at the school. Her passion was evident for students and family medicine. She was recognized at the national level as a coordinator by her peers for her vision and her work. She was a champion for medical students, both their education and their personal well-being. As her granddaughter, Francesca, said, her heart was huge. Her students were like her family to her. So Samantha's enthusiasm for family medicine was clear from the start. She was a highly engaged family medicine interest group student beginning her first year of school, which coincided with the onset of the COVID pandemic. Despite the challenges of the times, her leadership helped the group carry on, including hosting a clothing and toiletry drive, a book drive where over 200 books were collected, and noontime informational sessions for students. She led in the development of an online informational video for the community about COVID. She has continued to work with the Family Medicine Interest Group as a fourth-year student, where she helped in some of the planning for the basic life support and obstetrics event that happened this fall, where over 60 students attended. Please join me in congratulating Sammy. Next, if Bailey Frizzell can step up. Bailey is the recipient of 2 awards you'll be hearing about tonight. The first of these is the Vogel Scholarship. This goes to a 4th-year medical student planning on pursuing a career in family medicine with an emphasis on care of underserved populations. In Bailey's personal statement, she said, "Growing up in an active duty military family led me to a worldview where hard work, determination, and service are not only values, but a way of life." Her record in medical school absolutely attests to this. Our school, her fellow student peers, and the community have been fortunate to benefit from her vision, commitment, and hard work. I'll briefly outline just some of the things she's done because we only have so much time tonight, but she has contributed in many, many ways. Bailey was an event planner for the Student National Medical Association, where she provided support to underrepresented minority medical students through community engagement events. She provided mentorship to middle school through undergraduate minority students. She was one of the key event coordinators for the White Coats for Black Lives event at the Wisconsin State Capitol in 2020, where over 1,000 physicians, medical students, allied health professionals were in attendance. There were over 50,000 viewers online for this event. She served as a member and retreat organizer for the Madam Dreamers Academy, which provides online mentoring, coaching, support for women who are underrepresented in medicine. She's been a volunteer at the YMCA Summer Retreat that works to provide social-emotional support for at-risk elementary age girls. And she's also completed a path, or is completing a path of distinction in training at the medical school here, where she's helped create a novel implicit bias curriculum along with fellow colleagues for first-year medical students. This work has been presented at the national level. Please join me in congratulating. For our next award, if Julia Adams, Julia Adams, I'm going to back up. Our next award it will go to the WAFP Founders Award for Julia Adams, who is not able to be with us tonight, but she was recognized for outstanding contributions and interest in family medicine. So if we can give a round of applause for Julia Adams. There were several students in the next category for the Robert F. and Irma K. Corbett Endowed Scholarship. Unfortunately, none of these students were able to be here tonight, either due to a conflicting schedule at their campus. This award is given to 3rd and 4th year medical students with a strong interest in family medicine as a focus of their training. And the awardees were Carolina Mora Hurtado, Carlos Torres, Danny Widman, Pa Ta Zhang, and Megan Zander. Please join me in congratulating them. Our next category of awards will be the Dr. Lester Brillman Scholarships. And the first recipient, Sammy Gervais-Leclerc, can step to the stage again. The Dr. Lester Brillman Scholarships are given to 4th year medical students pursuing a career in family medicine to excite and empower medical students. Sammy was noted for her significant contributions as an FMIG leader. In particular, her creative, tireless work with FMIG Annual Health Screening Affair, which had to pivot during the COVID pandemic to create online educational materials for the community, was a highlight. She was recognized for her ongoing efforts throughout her 4 years. Please join me in congratulating Sammy. If Noah Mertz can step to the stage. Noah is also a recipient of the Dr. Lester Brillman Scholarship. Noah highlighted in his personal statement his grandmother's connection with her family medicine physician as an inspiration for him. He values the connections between family generations and their trusted physician. He has a desire to help serve the needs of small communities like the one where he grew up, and he was in the Wisconsin Academy for Rural Medicine, or WARM, training program here at the medical school. As part of a community health engagement project, he worked with multiple community stakeholders towards providing fluoridated water. Please join me in congratulating Noah. Can Katie Van Ness step to the stage? Katie's also a recipient of the Dr. Lester Brillman Scholarship. In her personal statement, Katie described being inspired to be a family physician practicing full spectrum care in small communities in Wisconsin. She was also a member of the WARM training program here at the medical school. She served as a member of the American Academy of Developmental Medicine and Dentistry and worked on the goal to improve the quality of healthcare for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. She also carried out a community health engagement project during her time in medical school in Forest County, Wisconsin, where she looked at factors contributing to poor birth outcomes in that county. Please join me in congratulating Katie. Can Max Wetzel step to the stage? So Max is also a recipient of the Dr. Lester Brillman Scholarship. Max described in his personal statement being inspired by his parents' work ethic, who were both farmers and optometrists in his community. He learned of health access challenges as he grew up and became more acutely aware of these during his medical school training experiences. Max is in the WARM training program at the medical school. Max was noted for his enthusiasm and energy to get involved in many WARM program activities. Some examples include teaching elementary and high school students, working with a mobile medical unit that serves homeless populations, as well as immigrant farmer populations. Please join me in congratulating Max. There were two other students who were awarded the Dr. Lester Brillman Scholarship who weren't able to be with us tonight. These are Julia Adams and Kong Vang. They were both noted for their outstanding contributions and interest in family medicine. Please join me in congratulating them. And for the final award I'll be announcing, if Bailey Frizzell can step to the stage again. So Bailey was the recipient of the Dr. Lester Brillman Leadership and Advocacy Award. This goes to a single student with demonstrated outstanding leadership and advocacy who's pursuing a career in family medicine. Bailey's leadership abilities were very evident in her work to help develop the White Coats for Black Lives event in 2020. Among the many things she did to help carry this out included creating a press release, speaking on local radio stations, and engaging with local community leaders and organizations such as the YWCA. Her work truly has helped catalyze change at the medical school. Her efforts led to regular meetings with school deans to advance DEI initiatives, including the development of a diversity, equity, and inclusivity coordinator position, as well as monthly White Coats for Black Lives webinar series. Beyond all this, Bailey has worked closely with faculty and members of the Harambee Village to develop the Today Not Tomorrow Pregnancy and Infant Support Program, which was developed to provide a safe, welcoming space for Black birthing people in Dayton County. It's clear that Bailey's work will have a sustaining impact in the community, for her fellow students, and for the medical school itself. Please join me in congratulating Bailey.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jerome Garrett, and I'm the administrator of the Department of Family Medicine and Community Health. I have the honor of presenting the Brillman Mentorship Award. The Dr. Lester Brillman Mentorship Family Medicine Award is bestowed to a faculty or community preceptor whose contributions nurture and sustain student interests in family medicine through their role as a clinician, educator, or researcher. The preceptor demonstrates an ongoing and consistent commitment to medical student education, espouses the values of family medicine, and demonstrates excellence in direct student teaching or mentorship. This year's recipient is a national leader in obstetrics care within family medicine. Dr. Lee Dresang has been authoring, editing, teaching curricula, and life support courses in obstetrics for over 2 decades. More recently, Dr. Dresang and an M1 student led a basic life support obstetrics course that 60 students completed. The mentorship Dr. Dresang provided to the M1 student while coordinating this course inspired her to consider her role as a physician teacher in the future. Dr. Dresang has been with our department for over a quarter century and has deposited into countless medical students and residents throughout his career. He's a teacher that believes, quote, "Teaching is a magical intersection of learning, caring, and sharing." Please join me in congratulating Dr. Lee Dresang on the 2023 Brillman Mentorship and Family Medicine Award.
We have a special award tonight that's being awarded by the Wisconsin Academy of Family Physicians for Educator of the Year. And this is an award that we're so grateful to have in our department for one of our own. And Brandon Wimmer will present that award from the Wisconsin Academy of Family Physicians.
As Dr. Rakel introduced me, my name is Brandon, and I'm the Deputy Executive Director of the Wisconsin Academy of Family Physicians. I'm really delighted to be here today. It's pretty exciting for me to get to turn the tables on Dr. Beamsley and give him an award after he's handed so many out today. The WAFP represents 3,000 members here in the state of Wisconsin, from some of you as physicians, including you students and residents who are here today, and we're really excited about that. We've been giving the Educator of the Year award statewide to a physician since 1983. And that award recognizes physicians based on three main criteria. Those being someone who's recognized by peers, students, or residents for their excellence in teaching and compassion to patients as well as those they teach. The recipient is someone who's directly and effectively involved in community affairs and activities that enhance the quality of life. And third, provides a credible role model as a healer and a human being to their community, and it represents a professional in the art and science of family medicine to their colleagues, fellow health professionals, residents, and medical students. Dr. Beamsley excels in all of those areas. In the letter of recommendation that was submitted by his predecessor in the Department of Family Medicine, Dr. Dave Deasy, he really summarized why Dr. Beamsley is an ideal recipient of this award. Said Dr. Deasy, his actions always mirror his commitment to quality patient care and to learner education. I'm proud of the legacy that he continues to build. His contributions to family medicine extend far beyond the four walls of our clinic into the far reaches of our state. And when you're talking about an educator, as we've seen with all the great student and resident recipients today, there's really nobody better than those students and residents who learn from that educator to share something about somebody like Dr. Beamsley. Melissa Ricker wrote in her letter of support that Dr. Beamsley is one of the most genuine, humble, hardworking, and thoughtful attendings I've ever learned from. My co-residents consistently talk about how much we appreciate staffing with him. He has an effective way of actively listening, of encouraging our strengths, and always adding a new pearl of knowledge. It's obvious how much he cares about us residents and wants us to become the best that we can be. So this is a peer-nominated and a peer-selected award. So the selection committee for this award was made up of family physicians from all across the state. And we also make sure that we have a student and a resident representative as well to really, tie into that educator and learner component of the award. And so, one of the most, I think, resounding comments that we got from the selection committee was that Dr. Beamsley's letter of recommendation highlight his dedication to teaching, to patient care, and involvement in the community, which are all important aspects for a family physician, as we all know. His work in furthering the education of students in the medical field is truly inspiring. So with that, it's with great pride on behalf of the entire Wisconsin Academy of Family Physicians, our members from across the state, that I get to present Dr. Beamsley with our 2022 Educator of the Year Award.
All right. What a night. Thank you to our donors, for everybody for contributing for the future of healthcare. Someone I heard the other day called family physicians pluripotent stem cells. If for those of you who may not be medical, that's a stem cell that can become a liver cell. And then it dedifferentiates and becomes a cardiac cell. And dedifferentiates and becomes an ear. And Wisconsin won a Nobel Prize, Dr. Thompson, for discovering stem cells. And I love being a pluripotent stem cell because that's what our community needs. It needs us to adapt to what we hear is the most pressing issues for the people we serve and we live with. I love my specialty colleagues, but they get all the credit. Let's give some credit to being a super generalist, someone who sees the interconnectedness of all things. So thank you to Dr. Thompson. Thank you for our First Peoples for teaching us this important lesson. And thank you to you for joining us in this celebration of one another.